Sunday night here on brand new Dylan Knows. I'm in a completely different location again. I kind of like to mix it up every once in a while. I'm lucky to do it today because my lovely wife Dawn, who you all know out there, is on a camping trip with my son Noah, and I had a very nice daddy-daughter weekend with my daughter Noelle. So that's why I didn't do a show last night because we're watching the Hunger Games. So tonight I figured I may as well get it out of the way. Not get out of the way because I like doing it, but just I think it's the first I've ever done it on a Sunday night. I don't really remember ever doing it on Sunday night before because usually it's Walking Dead or something else is on. But just it's just been another weird week again. I mean, actually, it's been a more terrible week than the weird week I had a couple weeks ago. But it's been a more terrible week, and considering that it started off with the 4th of July, it's when I did an episode on the 4th of July. So technically, it's been less than a week since I did an episode. So all's good. But I decided, hey, you know what? Let's do my weekly show this week, which was going to be the comic book show, but my co-host MJ Khan again can't do it. I don't know if we're going to do a comic book one this week. I will follow up with him. He says he's all over the place the next couple weeks, so we'll see if that is indeed the case. Next week I'll be back to having a co-host. It's been a month, I think, since I had a co-host, and this time it would be Jerry Fletcher, and I will be doing our top 10 list. We're supposed to do it a couple weeks ago for best Tim Burton films. We moved that to August for his birthday. Instead, we're going to do the top 10 films with numbers in their title, not including sequels. So it won't be like Superman 2 or stuff like that, but movies like Apollo 13 or 9 to 5, 28 Days Later, stuff like that. So should be a good one. That's next Saturday at 9 o'clock. So huzzah. So what are we talking about today? Well, as always, it's going to be holidays. The last 3 weeks, I've been telling you some strange holidays. I said every day is a holiday, and today is no different. And we're going to talk a little bit about one of them especially. You can tell pretty much by the name I have today. We're also part of our daddy-daughter weekend, The Secret Life of Pets, the new movie from the Despicable Me crew and Minions crew, came out this week to blockbusting money making. They made over 100 million. They made 103.2 is the estimated million on their first weekend. So again, Illumination is a company to keep an eye out on, Disney and DreamWorks. In fact, we were watching, my daughter and I were watching the trailers before the movies, and they actually have another movie coming out this year around Thanksgiving. Disney's got one coming out Thanksgiving. I think the DreamWorks one we saw is coming out earlier. And then there's like another animated one about trolls, which looks kind of neat. And then there's like a more independent type of animated film, maybe from a foreign country. It's coming out at the end of August. But yeah, Illumination, who came to fame. The first movie they did was Despicable Me, and it took off. It surprised everybody. It took off. The second movie they did was Hop, which is actually very enjoyable. It's about the Easter Bunny. It actually was Noelle's very first movie she ever saw in the movie theater with me. So there was that. Then they did Despicable Me 2, and then the Minions movie, and now they did The Secret Life of Pets, and they've got another movie coming out in November called Sing, which looks really interesting. It's about again, like anthropomorphic animals are asked to compete in a singing competition. It's got Anna Kendrick and Justin Timberlake are the two big names I remember most of all of them. There were some other really big names, like they get some good names on there, but they're going to be doing some singing. And it looked pretty interesting. So I can't wait to see that. So I think Noelle was interested in that. And then Disney's also got not a Pixar movie. They have a Disney movie, and they did really well with Frozen and Zootopia, which are both Disney, not Pixar. A lot of people forget that both of those aren't Pixar films. Those are Disney films, and they're starting to do Disney films. There was one called Mona, I think, or something like that. It's the Pacific Island story. It's about a demigod who's voiced by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and is trying to help a girl, survive, I guess, and find her potential, whatever. It looks interesting. And it's got some interesting music. One of the songs is going to be written by the guy who created Hamilton. So if you like Hamilton, you might want to check that out as well. So that would be good. So we'll do some reviews of The Secret Life of Pets. But yeah, Disney and Pixar and DreamWorks, watch out for Illumination. They're steamrolling. They've had 3 straight now $100 million openings. Despicable Me 2 was the first. Minions movie came out last year was the second, and now this one is the third. So when I saw the Illumination one, I thought it wasn't going to come out till next year, but no, it said November. So they got 2 coming out this year. Despicable Me 3 is supposed to be out soon. I don't know if it's next year, but we'll see. And they had a Minions mini short, like about a 5 to 6 minute cartoon before this movie, which Disney's been doing a lot of also, and Pixar actually has too. So it was pretty funny. It was about the Minions doing a landscaping job at an old folks home and doing it Minions style terribly. So it was actually very funny. So we'll talk about a little bit about that. Also, it seems like just over this weekend, the Pokemon Go craze has just been lighting up social media. And it's so much so that my wife, Dawn, she downloaded before she went camping, and she actually caught a couple already. So I'm intrigued by it, but I'm still on the fence about it. But just a lot of the funny tweets and stuff that's been going on with the Pokemon Go stuff, which I'll get into a little bit also. And this damn horrible, terrible week, and some other stuff. We're going to start off, though, with something that I got to thank. There was a podcast who was the one that got me started on this. Let me see. Oh, it was under my other. Yeah, I've got 2 Twitter accounts. I'm okay with that. So let's see. It was with Superhero Speak, I think, was the one. The podcast, yeah, Superhero Speak was the one that came up with. They were talking about. Sorry, they were talking about if you've been reading comics, which a lot of you haven't, but you might find this interesting. Everyone knows Spider-Man, and there's a writer by the name of Dan Slott. He's been writing Spider-Man for a long time now. He came in with Brand New Day, which was after the terrible storyline where Peter Parker sold his soul basically to Mephisto so that everyone would forget his secret identity, and that would in turn cause him and Mary Jane not to be married and revert back to status quo, plus Aunt May would be alive also, and everything would revert back to status quo. And that was a terrible blow for a lot of people, because a lot of people like that Mary Jane and Peter Parker married. So now we got nobody knowing who Spider-Man was, with the exception, I think, some of the Avengers still knew him. And MJ and him being acquaintances, exes or whatever, and him dating, stuff like that. And so, Dan Slott was part of the crew of writers that came in and started rebuilding it. And then eventually he just took over completely, and has done a pretty good job. He made some waves when he killed Spider-Man and put Dr. Octopus's mind into Spider-Man's body and created the Superior Spider-Man, which when it first came out, it was kind of like, this is stupid. But then when you start reading it and you get into it, it was actually really good. It was like a 30-issue series that lasted almost 2.5 years, and it was a good storyline. And so of course they brought Peter Parker back because there was a new Spider-Man movie coming out, and they, people liked the Peter Parker, and they weren't. And Dan Slott, I don't think, had the intention of keeping Doc Ock as Spider-Man. I think he just wanted to explore something different with Spider-Man. So then he decided to explore something else, which was really cool. This is a couple of years ago also. He created the storyline where there's alternate realities, and I've done shows about alternate realities before. He did there's alternate realities, and every one of these realities has a different type of Spider-Man. Spider-Gwen was the more popular one out of all that came out of that storyline, and the noir Spider-Man who was like all in black and shot people and did stuff like that. And just different Spider-Ham came back, and all kinds of really different Spider-Mans. A British Spider-Man. There was I think Indian, like Indian Spider-Man that had his own series for a little bit back 10 years ago, something like that. They brought him back, and they did a whole bunch of, they did a whole big storyline where all these Spider-Mans, including the Superior Spider-Man played by Doc Ock, because he disappears in like issue 22 and then reappears. So Slott had this planned out for a long time, and we find out where he disappeared to after the storyline was over. It came back and said, oh yeah, by the way, remember when he disappeared in issue 22, which was 8 issues before the end? Hey, guess what? This is where he went. So that was always a neat thing. And it became so popular and so crazy and so monumental that there is an Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon that's on Disney XD, I think. They even did a crossover with the comic series and brought in those Spider-Mans and had that character introduced. And it was every Spider-Man. They did the newspaper Spider-Man. They did the 1970s cartoon Spider-Man. It was insane. Just all the different types of Spider-Man. It was a great, one of the best Spider-Man stories I ever read. And I think it was Spider-Verse was the name of it. And it became popular also that it spun off its own series that's unfortunately ending with issue 11 called Web Warriors. But I was talking to this podcast via Twitter. They were talking about Superhero Speak, I think is what it was. Let me just double check that again. I want to make sure I get it right. Yeah, Superhero Speak podcast. So look them up. They talk superheroes. I haven't heard them yet, but they seem like nice enough guys and gals. So they were mentioning stuff like that. And an idea just crossed my mind is like, maybe we could do a movie version of the Spider-Verse. And think about it. In the movies, we're on our third Spider-Man, and that pissed off a lot of people when Tom Holland was cast as the third Spider-Man and appeared in Civil War. When he showed up in Civil War and they saw how he was going to be, they're like, okay, this is cool. So he is. If you haven't seen it, Civil War comes out, I think, September 13th on DVD and Blu-ray. It'll probably be out digital a couple weeks before, end of August maybe. Check it out, definitely, but definitely check it out. He's got a new movie coming out 1 month from I think like this weekend will be the new Spider-Man movie. Will be coming out, Spider-Man Homecoming. And I was going to talk about this a little bit on my comic show, but I don't know when I'm going to do it. I still might be able to do it now, but I'm just going to mention it real quick. They've been casting the hell out of that movie. I mean, they've been cast after cast member. They probably have hired, and we know, this is what we know. We know Marissa Tomei, hot, plays hot Aunt May. Tom Holland is Spider-Man. Peter Parker, Spider-Man. Some singer, I forget her name, she was cast also. And Robert Downey Jr. is going to be in it as Tony Stark Iron Man, because he's basically funding Spider-Man as it were in Civil War. There's rumors that Chris Evans might show up as Captain America, because that would make a lot of sense, because a little badinage back and forth between the Queens and Brooklyn thing in New York was a highlight of the Civil War. And I think it'd be fun to see him pop up, even though he's wanted right now. It would be fun to see him interact with Spider-Man again, and both have this like New York connection, which is really cool. And I'm going to talk a lot about New York, even though I'm not a big fan of New York, because Secret Life of Pets is basically a love note to New York. We'll talk about it in a little bit. So I came with the idea. I thought, so there have been three since like 2000. There have been 3 Spider-Mans. There's been a total of 5 Spider-Man movies. 6th one's coming out next year, as I just said, and he made an appearance in Civil War. The first 3, Tobey Maguire was Spider-Man, and Sam Raimi directed them, and Kirsten Dunst was Mary Jane Watson, and we had Willem Dafoe as Norman Osborn, Green Goblin. You had James Marsden, no. I forget the guy who was in Freaks and Geeks and the new 11/22/63 guy, and he was in like 28 Hours, or the one where he, James something or other. He played not Russo. It's gonna drive me crazy, so I'll keep talking. He played Harry Osborn. Then there was also Dr. Octopus made an appearance, and again, I can't think of the actor who played him. Jeez, I'm terrible. And Topher Grace was Venom, which a lot of people didn't like. Spider-Man 2002 movie, that's close enough. That'll give me the name of the actor who plays him. James Franco. Sorry, James. But yeah, James Franco. But stuff like that. So, and then you had the Andrew. Again, bear with me. It's late. I don't remember a lot of stuff. I should start writing this shit down. You had the Andrew who came in who did Spider-Man. Jeez, I gotta look this up too. This is embarrassing. Amazing Spider-Man, I should say. Amazing. We know Emma Stone played Gwen Stacy, and the two of them started dating. And Andrew Garfield, that's who it is. And I don't want that. I'll do that. And you had another Green Goblin, and you had a Lizard, and you had Electro, and so you've gotten 2 Spider-Mans out of Andrew. You had 3 out of Tobey, and now you got Tom is doing this new one. So my thought process was, Tobey's older, Andrew's older, and Tom is young. Why not do a Spider-Verse movie with them? That way you can have them come back to play Spider-Man, but not the exact same Spider-Man. You can have Tobey Maguire play. There was an older, wiser version of Spider-Man. He played him 16 years ago, so he's probably in his 30s and 40s now. So he probably in his 30s, I think. So he's older, so he could play one of the older, more experienced Spider-Men. And Andrew Garfield's in his mid-20s, probably, maybe a little bit higher, closer to 30. He could play another Spider-Man, and you could have Matt be the Spider-Man which connects it to the rest of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He could come in and be the connection, be the one you see it through. And then there's been talk, we know Emma Stone's character, spoiler alert, in Amazing Spider-Man 2, or whatever you want to call it, she dies. But there was a cry out there when Spider-Gwen came out a couple years ago that she would be perfect for Spider-Gwen. She's got the look of Spider-Gwen, and they've people have photoshopped her face on Spider-Gwen's costume, and it looks absolutely perfect and stunning. So get her in to play Spider-Gwen. And then let's see who else. And then you can bring in Kirsten Dunst, who played Mary Jane Watson. She's in Iron Man now, and she's wearing the Iron Spider costume. You could have her come in for that as well. And if Miles Morales appears in the new Spider-Man movie, which comes out next year, which is a big possibility because they've been casting the hell out of all these, just tons of characters, it looks like it's like a packed full of actors and stuff like that. Get him in there as well. And then on top of that, you can cast new actors. You can cast a Hispanic actress to play Silks. I think she's like a Hispanic type of character. You can cast someone to play Jessica Drew Spider-Woman, which would be perfect. You could do a CGI Spider-Ham, very much like Rocket Raccoon, and just all kinds. You can do a couple of other different Spider-Mans as well, and have a big giant Spider-Verse type of movie. And I think it would be absolutely brilliant. So hey, anyone out there who from Marvel Cinematic Universe watching this, hey, you heard it here first. I think it would be a great job. I think it would be gangbusters. It would make a ton of money. And you get all the Spider-Mans back together. And it would be amazing, I think, to see all that. So that would be a really interesting way to go about stuff. So we'll see if they do that. I doubt they will, but because of the logistics of it, probably would be a little tough. But you don't have to have a huge cast. You can have all those characters and then a few more on the side. So I like the CGI Spider-Ham myself, and I just think it would be a blast to do something like that. So I want to start off with a really neat idea. As I said, Tobey and Andrew would play different Spider-Mans. They wouldn't be playing the Spider-Mans they played in the movies. They would be playing, maybe you get Tobey to be the more wise one, or you can make him be the noir one. You can have Andrew maybe be one of the other ones, because he is British. He could be the British Spider-Man maybe. You could get a Indian actor to play the Indian Spider-Man as well. Get him in that, because he's got a cool costume too. And, bring back Kirsten Dunst, Emma Stone, and I think it'd be great. That's personally, I think it would be great. But that's just my idea. Before I get into some other stuff, I tried. For those who know the show, I like to try new things when they pop up. I like to try new things. Like a couple weeks ago, I tried Orange Crush Pop-Tarts, which are not very good. They're okay. I mean, they're okay, but they're not great. I doubt I'll ever get them again. But at least I tried them. The chocolate caramel ones are fantastic. I highly recommend those. And I haven't tried the root beer, A&W root beer ones yet. I'm going through my cherry, which is one of my absolute favorite ones. So I'm going through my cherry ones right now. I'll have my first taste of A&W probably later this week, and I can talk about it next week on Next Dylan Knows. But we'll probably be doing we are doing the list show on Saturday, so maybe not. We'll see. But I always like to try different things. I try different cookies. Oreo has all these different cookies, and let me just come up with an idea here. Give me 1 second. All right. Oreos have all the different flavors. You've got your cinnamon roll, you've got s'mores flavors, you've got the fruit flavors, you've got birthday, so like that. And then there are other Chips Ahoy's doing the same thing, sort of similar like that. So I've tried a bunch of those, and different types of sodas as well. I had heard about it, but I've never tried it before. There was a Mountain Dew Black Label, which hadn't really seen anywhere. It's not in 6-pack format that I know of, or 12-pack, which is what they do a lot more selling of in grocery stores. This was more of a like a one-off. It was a bigger. It's probably about the size of this, but a little bit thicker. So it could have been 20 ounce, or maybe. How many is this? This is 12 fluoro ounces, maybe not 20 ounces. That'd be really big, but in like the 15 ounce sort of range. And it's like a dark berry flavored Mountain Dew, and it's like specially made or something like that. So I saw one of all places at the dollar store, and I only saw it in like single can option. So I was like, I may as well buy it. It's only $1 or so. So I got that, and it's been sitting in my refrigerator for a week or so now, and I just never got around to trying it. So today I was like, hey, you know what? Let me pop it out and have it for dinner tonight. It was Mountain Dew. It's in a nice new different type of can, but it's just Mountain Dew. I mean, it tastes like Mountain Dew. It doesn't taste. It might be a slight different taste to it. It's like a dark berry Mountain Dew flavor is what they're talking about. But you know what? It was okay. They don't offer it in a 12-pack that I know of. I've now seen it in the grocery store in the big, as I said, 15, 20 ounce can. But it's not available in 12-pack. So I tried it at least, and it didn't taste like anything different. There's other really good kinds of Mountain Dew. My favorite's actually Voltage, which I actually got a 12-pack of right over there, which is charged with raspberry, citrus flavor, and ginseng, which is one of the main reasons why I got it. They're doing the vote for which Mountain Dew you want to be out on the stores. It's like Baja Blast, which you could only get at Taco Bell for the longest time, but then they've released it the last couple summers, and it made it disappear in the fall. And they hadn't released Pitch Black in a while, and I hadn't had Pitch Black in a while, and I really like Pitch Black also. So I vote for Pitch Black. I'm still going to buy, after I go through these sodas here, I'll probably buy another Pitch Black because it was pretty good. I also got a cherry vanilla Pepsi, which is really good too. That reminds me of something. I actually had a conversation with somebody at work about this. Kind of makes me, look, they're starting to revisit stuff now. How they said that Pepsi is going back to Pepsi Clear, which actually, just for a limited time or whatever, I actually liked Pepsi Clear. Say call it blasphemy, whatever. It was different. It was interesting, and I liked it. I mean, Would it ever replace Pepsi? Not really, because to be honest, I'm not a big Pepsi drinker. I like the cherry vanilla Pepsi, and that's really about it. And the regular Pepsi I could drink if I need to. It's not going to kill me, but I prefer Coke products. Call it the way I was raised, whatever. I don't know, but I like the cherry vanilla Pepsi. But a few years ago, actually, it's probably longer. It's probably 6, 7 years going on now. There were a couple flavors that came out. I don't know if it was. I don't think it was the same year. I think they were like in descending, not descending years. One came out one year, the other came out the other year. And one of the people at work I work with, they remembered it and asked me about it and said, "Hey, do you remember this?" I was like, "Yeah." Now I remember Crystal Pepsi, and as I said, I like Crystal Pepsi, and they're bringing that back out for a limited time. I wish they would bring back Pepsi Lemon. I know I'm not insane about this because I do remember, because I got it it seemed like I would get 2 12-packs and I'd burn through them when I drank a lot more soda than I do now. And I'd always, every time I go to the grocery store, I'd always buy another 12-pack. And then when they started disappearing from, say, Food Line up here, I went to the Giant and they still had it, because they had the same thing. Like, I like the Coke Zeros and I like the Coke Zero Vanilla, but Food Line doesn't carry Coke Zero Vanilla. They carry regular vanilla, so I get that because I like vanilla Coke, but the Coke Zero Vanilla is only available like a Giant. So the closest Giant's is a couple miles away. So it takes about maybe 10 minutes to get there. And I could if I really wanted to, but I prefer just to make the ease and convenience of the 5 minutes away Food Line. And they've got a pretty good selection. I mean, as I said, they got my Voltage, they got Pitch Black, they got the Cherry Vanilla Pepsi, and they've also got like the original sugar Pepsis and Dr. Peppers and Mountain Dews, stuff like that. And they're pretty different. Do they taste a little different? They taste a little different to me. That's just me, though. But then it got me thinking, is another one they announced that was going to come out this summer, and I've been seeing ads for it on Twitter and stuff like that, is Ecto Cooler. And I haven't seen it yet. It hasn't made its way to Food Lion yet. And I heard, oh yeah, it might be at Walmart. So I made an extra trip to Walmart yesterday with my daughter just to see if it's there. And it wasn't at the Walmart. This was a super Walmart. And it wasn't there. But I've seen pictures of people drinking. I think they had 6-packs, and they have the juice boxes in them. And I want my Ecto Cooler, and nobody has it. I got to do, I guess, a little bit more digging. Maybe I'll check out the Walmart closer to me. The Super Walmart was in Hunt Valley, which is about 20, 25 minutes away from here. And we just happened to be in the area anyway. That's one of the reasons why I decided, hey, let's go over there, because we were in the area. So I want my Ecto Cooler, and they keep saying, oh, we're going to start, coming out in more different places. Well, I haven't seen it. So please, if someone could tell me where it is in the local Reisterstown, area, that would be great. Maybe I'll jump out to Twitter, I'll look it up or whatever, see if there's places for it. That also says they also had an ad, and I don't think it was a fake ad, but I haven't been able to find this either. They were going to release Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. Usually, and they would have in the regular small size, but my new favorite now is the big giant ones, because you get 2 of them, and it's like double or triple the size of the Reese's I usually have. And it's so good, because I'm a sucker for Reese's. And hopefully the one viewer I had who just left is going to look up where Ecto Cooler is for me. Probably not, because they're probably not going to come back like, this is boring. I want to hear other stuff. I'll get to it. Don't you worry. And you're not here to listen to it. I shouldn't yell at the non-existent viewers. I'm sorry. That's why you only have 10 viewers for a video, Dylan, but hey, that's okay. Anyway, so I haven't been able to find the Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. It's Reese's Pieces inside the Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, and that would be so good. So good, but haven't been able to find them yet, and I've been on the lookout for them. So, I mean, it's not midsummer yet. Midsummer technically isn't until the first week of August, because if you look at it from the point of the first day of summer, this year was my birthday, June 20th, and the first day of fall is going to be September 23rd, 22nd. I've seen 22nd, 23rd. Now, if you want to go for the halfway point between that, it's the first week of August. So that's midsummers, whatever you want to call it. But it's been 3 weeks since summer started. We felt the heat here in Baltimore. It was a pretty nice day today. It's going to be a nice day tomorrow, I think, but the heat's going to start coming back because that's mid-Atlantic summer, and I hate it. See my previous Dylan Knows. I've got a ton of episodes about how much I hate the summer. But 3 weeks into the summer, I haven't seen any of these yet. And the Ghostbusters movie that the Ecto Cooler was coming out as being like a co-promotion of is coming out on Friday. So I wasn't going to go see it, but my daughter, we saw the trailer before Secret Life of Pets, and she giggled and she laughed, and I might have to take her to it because it's women Ghostbusters, and she liked the original Ghostbusters, and she might like it a lot. So I might take her to that. She's got a really special weekend coming up. A friend of hers is taking her to Hershey Park, and they're going to go see Selena Gomez and who's the boy? One of the other like popular teen singer type things, Jonas, the Jonas Kid. So that's it. So if anybody can find Ecto Cooler for me, let me know. I really kind of want that. Same with the Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. Hopefully I'll be able to find them eventually. We'll see. So that leads me to my next bit, which is going to be the holidays. Again, I'm going to push this as well. Checkiday.com. Follow them on Twitter at checkiday. And it gives you a list of all the holidays every day, all the weird, bizarre ones that we've had, and then regular ones. Like last week when I did this on Monday for Independence Day, they said it's Independence Day today, but it's also Baked Beans Day or something like that. So what do we got today? Some interesting ones. The first one is it's Teddy Bear Picnic Day. So if you had some kids, it'd be nice to have gone out on Teddy Bear Picnic. Today was also Pick Blueberries Day. I have a friend whose son devoured I think she said 32-ounce container of blueberries. So yummy. I like blueberries. I'll get to that one because that's going to lead to my next story. It's also National Clara Hugh Day. And I think he's a writer because the picture they attached to it is of a book with writing on it. It's Don't Step on a Bee Day. My kids hate bees. I guess they don't want to get stung. I've been stung before, but bees are important, and we need to keep an eye on them or we're all going to die. So don't step on a bee today. And today is also Barn Day. Today is also National Pina Colada Day. Now, first and foremost, I hate pina coladas. I am not a fan of pina coladas at all. And so I'm not going to celebrate this day. My wife, she likes pina coladas. I don't. But what I want to say, and I talked about this before about a year and a half ago, and I need to bring it up again because every time I hear this song, I have to tear it apart. And so hopefully this will be some new people who might not have seen this episode from a year and a half ago. I want to talk about the Pina Colada song. If you like pina coladas, getting caught in the rain, and blah blah blah. The rest of it. It was in the movie Mars Attacks, and they run it on the Jack, which is the local radio station here that plays all the hits. And it's like on summer CDs because it's a summer song. It's about a summer song about pina coladas. But if you hear the song enough and you listen to the lyrics closely enough, the song's pretty fucked up. It's basically a song about a couple that's been together for a long time deciding they want to cheat on each other with each other. Let me explain. We all know the chorus. I just sang a bit of it for you. But the chorus has a meaning. The song starts off dun 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 dun, stuff like that, and then it goes into the first verse. and he talks about how, and it's a guy singing, so it's a guy talking about, from his point of view. And he is discussing how he's been with his lady for a long time. And he's kind of getting sick of her, like a worn out recording of a favorite song. You in the old days, you would have a tape or a record, and if a particular song that you loved was on the tape or it was on a record, you would play it over and over again because you didn't have repeat buttons, because that came out on the advent of digital with the CDs, because you could hit repeat and it would repeat the song over and over again and it wouldn't wear itself out. But when this song came out, I think it was the late 70s, maybe early 80s, I'm not exactly sure. It's what he means by a worn out recording of a favorite song is, for those who are young, because I'm not young, I'm 43 years old. And I know tapes and I had records. I had records, I had tapes, I had CDs. My dad had 8 tracks, so I know what they are. I've seen them before. Tapes were about this big that had actual tape in it. It was, the music was imprinted on the tape and you would put it in a tape player and hit play and it would spin it, and there was a mechanism that would play the music. My problem was, at first they didn't have singles. You would have to listen to the whole album. Oh, excuse me. Wow. It was baked beans day. Oof. Excuse me. And, which sucked, because if there were a particular song you liked, you'd have to, once it was over, you'd have to stop and then rewind it and try to find the place where it started, because there was no counter telling you where it started, or where, I guess there was a counter if you wanted to keep an eye on it, see when things started and see where it went. But most times you just stopped it and you either rewound it while it was still playing, so it was going like that. And then you would, start it. So it's getting close to the end. So then you would pull your hand off the rewind and the play would still be down and it would start playing the song. Or you just have to guess. You would rewind it. It's like, okay, I think it's right here. Click. And then you hit play and then it'd be like, it's clean, yeah, cup. No, okay, that's not where I'm. Click. It's like, okay, now it starts, so you can listen to it again. So if you liked that one song on the tape, you couldn't, as I said, you couldn't hit repeat. You had to rewind it and replay it again. Now, tape is very thin. The tape and it would get stuck in the tape recorder, and you would have to pull it out, and then you'd have to use a pen or whatever to reel it back in. And then sometimes, if it got really wrapped up in the wheels that spun it, and you couldn't get it out, you'd have to tear it, and tape's trash. Got to buy another one. And then a little later, they came out with tape singles, where they would have one song on one side and one on another. And that was pretty good. That way you could, you only had the one song. I was like, okay, I had one for Bat Dance, which was the song Prince sang for Batman, the movie, 1989. And so I was like, okay, I liked it. Stop, rewind it. And I think there was another, on the flip side, there was another song from the Batman, which I didn't like as much. But you did that way. So you had it that way. Or with a record, same thing happened. They had singles, but see what it was, there were grooves and stuff like that. So, it was a needle that would play the music. And so you would put it on where it needed to start, and it would start and the music would go, and then it would roll across the record till it got to the end, and then it would click up and then stop. And then if you want to play it again, you put it back on the record and spin it and do it again. So if you kept doing it over and over again, the needle would drag across the record and eventually would make it with holes and stuff, so it would start skipping and stuff like that. So that's what he means by a worn out recording of a favorite song. So if you had a favorite song, you play it over and over again. This part's important because he's talking about his lady. They've been together for a really long time, obviously a few years at least. They were probably living together at that time, but he's getting horny for someone else. It's basically, they might, I don't think they're married, but the relationship, you still love the person, but the heat and the energy and the sexual passion is not there as much as it is when you first start dating. I think everybody has gone through that before. When you start dating somebody, it's like sex, 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 sex all the time, which is fantastic. It's great. But then as you start being together longer and you start spending more time together, and spend, because a lot of times at the beginning of the relationship, you're not around each other all the time. So you miss each other and then you want to feel each other again. But then when you start living together and stuff like that, you see each other all the time, and you still might have the occasional heat and sexual experience there, but it's not anywhere quite like it was, when you were first starting out dating. And then when you get married, it might start off a little bit hot again, but again, not so much. And then it starts to fizzle out again. And then you start thinking about the future, starting about children and grown up things. You start adulting, as they say, and you still might occasionally have the sex here and there. So the jokes you see on Twitter and Facebook about, sex after marriage not being quite as hot as, sex on first dates, it's fairly true. I mean, yeah, there could be some couples that are still scorching hot with each other in bed. And then there are some which, have a good, healthy sex life, but it's not like every freaking day or every freaking week, even though some people would like to have that. It might be, 12 to 24 times a year, which is good. It's good. And then you got the people who don't have any. And, maybe that's one of the reasons why people are breaking up. So I digress. So the guy, the narrator of the song, he's singing the song that he's been with this woman for so long. And, there's, they're together and the heat's not there anymore, and he's getting horny again. He wants to fuck around again and wants to fuck someone different, and do stuff like that. So while she's sleeping in bed next to him, he's looking through a newspaper. Now, for those who don't know also, because this is a 1970s song, and I'm 43 years old, so I know this stuff. The newspaper is a periodical. It would come out every, still the paper's still there, but as Hal Ramis's Egon says in Ghostbusters, print is dead. And basically it is because, hey, all your print, everything you know is in this little damn thing right here. So newspapers are starting to, they still do newspapers for those who want them, because you can get coupons, and some people like to have a physical, like with me, with comics. I can buy them digitally if I want to and look them on my computer, my phone, whatever, and read them that way. And I wouldn't have to go to a comic book store, and I wouldn't have, and I'm sure my wife would love if I did that, because then I wouldn't be bringing home, as I call floppies, and showing them off in my comic haul videos, which I did one earlier today, and I do every week. And they wouldn't be stored in our basement and the side of my bed right now, which is the ones I haven't read yet, which are more new. And we'd be able to have all that space left. Well, I don't like reading digital. It's just the way I am. It's my preference. I like to have something solid in my hands. That's for comics, but for news, I don't get the newspaper anymore. I used to, but it was always late, because print is dead. You can't keep up with the internet. If a big news story happens while I'm talking right now, it's going to be all over social media right this second. And then the newspapers come out tomorrow with the same story. But by then, it has moved on to the next level, and they're still talking, they're still playing catch up. They're still talking about stuff that you already know about. So, there are other aspects to newspapers. You can get, comic strips, which are always there, play crossword puzzles, coupons, as I said. And then some people, need to have, they want that physical thing. They want something to read that's not, on the phone, at the breakfast table or in their carpool or waiting for the bus or whatever. They want to have something to read. So, newspapers still are around, but they're nowhere near as popular as they used to be, because there's no need for it, because everything you need is in this little thing right here. And that's where I get all my news. And you can get cartoon strips. You can go to websites and read the up-to-date cartoon strips. And you can now, write stuff with, if you get a specific, like a tablet or a phone or whatever, which comes with, a little pen thing or whatever, you can do the crossword puzzles online and stuff like that. So, and then, and going on with the song, he is going to a personal ad. Now, a personal ad was basically the Tinder of its time. Tinder is that dating site where you swipe if you just look at someone's pictures like, oh, it looks cute. no, it looks ugly. And then you enter and you read a little bit more about them, and then you try to set up a date, and you get together that way. That's one way they get together nowadays. But personal ads used to be in the newspapers in the back, and you know, I've placed personal ads before. Actually, I placed them in the City Paper, which is a weekly periodical, which is an alternative newspaper, which didn't really focus on the news of the week or the day, whatever. It was more stuff about what's going on in the town. And these personal ads were a little bit more, not sexual, but a little bit more adult, as it were. And I didn't, they have the regular ones. That's what I did. I didn't do any of the sexual ones. You know, I wish I kind of did sometimes, but yeah, I digress again. Anyway, so he's talking about, you know, he's reading the paper in bed because obviously she's asleep and they're not having sex, and he's just bored with her, and he's horny for a new chick and stuff like that. And so he's looking through the newspaper and he finds a personal ad. And that's where the chorus comes in. It says he's reading the personal ad, and that's what the chorus is. If you like pina coladas, getting caught in the rain, making love at midnight, and the dunes by the Cape, you know, stuff like that. So he reads that, and then he has another verse. Is like, you know, I hope it's you know, saying something along the lines of, you know, I feel bad for wanting to go with someone else because I still love her, but it's just, I want something different now. So he decides he's going to write a personal ad. So he writes one, and that's like the next batch. So I was like, yes, I like pina coladas, and I'm not into yoga. I like champagne. And so let's get together. Let's meet together tomorrow noon at a place called O'Malley's, where we'll plan our escape. So then he goes to O'Malley's with high hopes. Now, before we tell you what happens, there's a problem with that. It's like he writes the personal ad that night. So he reads the personal ad and he responds to it. Now, this is at night. So the newspaper office is closed. So what he's going to have to do is he's going to have to either call it in, mail it in, drop it off, whatever. The newspaper will have to grab it. They'll have to put in the personal ad, and it'll be in the next day. So let's look at it this way. So Monday, he's reading the personal ads. He sees the one that he wants to respond to. So that very night, he writes another one, and he sends it in to the newspaper. They're going to get it on Tuesday, but the Tuesday newspaper has already been printed because they come out in the morning. And so they're going to put the new personal ad in the paper for Wednesday. So now it's another day. So if he says, I need to meet you tomorrow noon at O'Malley's, there's no way in hell that they're going to see that in time, because he's thinking Tuesday we're going to hook up, and they're not going to see it till Wednesday. So that's where but then you gotta think about, once again, like with a lot with movies and stuff like that, you just got to go with the flow and say, okay, this is what he's trying to talk about in the film, in the song. So just go with the flow. So, okay, so he's waiting with high hopes, meaning he's fucking horny. He's like, oh, I can't wait to see what this chick looks like. Hope she's got big tits, you know, got a nice ass, good face, nice hair, and good lips, you know, stuff like that, and just someone that'll make him horny. Come on, let's face it, that's exactly what he's looking for right now, if you've been listening to the song already. Because he loves the woman he's with. A worn-out recording of a favorite song. So he still loves her, just their heat is gone. So he's, as I said, he's freaking horny. He wants to take it. He wants to do another. He wants to see what it's like to have sex with another chick or whatever. Again, I don't know how long they've been together, but they've been together long enough. I'm thinking maybe 2 or 3 years. That's what I'm thinking. They're not married yet, so that seems to be a good time frame, because Dawn and I lived together for 3 years before we got married. Well, actually, we lived together for 2 years technically. We were dating for 3 years before we got married. But so about a 2 to 3 year period probably, because they're not married yet. So he's waiting with high hopes when she walked in the door. And I knew her smile in an instant, the curve of her face. It was the same woman. It's his girlfriend. Apparently she had been feeling the same thing. But there was no communication between them. She's like, I'm bored with him. I don't want to fuck him anymore. You know, I want a new stud. Well, that's one interpretation. There's another one I'll tell you about in a second. There's a new stud, and I want to try out a new stud. So they sit down and they laugh about it. It's like, you wrote a personal ad and I responded to it. Basically, we're cheating on each other with each other. That's funny. No, it really isn't. It's kind of sad, actually, that you've been together for 2 to 3 years and you don't have any communication. She's bored with him. He's bored with her, yet they stay together. And then this is where it gets even worse. Then the next words out of his mouth are, I didn't know you liked pina coladas or getting caught in the rain or making love at midnight on the dunes of the Cape. He didn't know that she liked pina coladas. Are you fucking insane? You've been together for 2 to 3 years. You've probably gone on vacations together. You've gone to restaurants and gotten something to eat. And she's not going to, if she likes pina colada, she's not going to look at the menu and say, you know what, I kind of feel like a pina colada, but I'm not going to order it because I don't want him to know that I like pina coladas. What the fuck are you talking about? You don't know the woman you've been with for 2 to 3 years. Remember, this isn't, you didn't say, oh, we've just been together for 6 months or whatever. So yeah, I can maybe, if you've only been together for 6 months, maybe a year, it's a possibility that these things wouldn't come up. But 2 to 3 years, you're living together, for God's sakes. You've probably gone on vacation together, unless you didn't take any vacations, which is stupid. What do you do with all your vacation time? Staycations? Okay, fine. But you still want to go out and do stuff. You're still going to go out on dates, right? You're not just coming home and hanging out and watching TV and cooking and eating food and reading and just ignoring each other, right? I wasn't for the 3 years between the time that Dawn and I started dating to when we got married. I knew enough about her in that period that I know what she likes and what she didn't like. Yeah, there might be some stuff that I might not know, but nothing like a pina colada or getting caught in the rain, because obviously it has rained before where you were. And if you like getting caught in the rain, then you say, fuck yeah, it's raining. Let's go run around out inside of it. It's part of the fun, especially when you just started dating. You want to have as much fun as you can. Or you're walking from a restaurant to your car and it starts to rain, because it happens. And nowhere do you say, oh, wow, this is awesome. You say, oh, fuck, let's get into the car. I don't want to get wet. But then you don't like to sit in the rain. But the thing is, you don't know that she likes pina coladas? Really, dude? You've gone to bars before. I know what kinds of wine my wife likes. I know what kind of alcohol my wife likes. And I highly doubt if she liked a pina colada, she'll have a pina colada. She might not be in the mood for it. And I suppose maybe for 2 or 3 years, she was never in the mood for one when you guys went out. But then why write that in your personal ad that you like pina coladas if you haven't had one in 2 to 3 years? Or if you've had one in secret, what's up with that? So then, okay, if you like pina coladas, awesome. I love pina coladas. Oh, you like getting caught in the rain? So do I. That's so cool. We're so perfect for each other. We've been dating for 2 to 3 years. And here's the funny part. And you like making love on the dunes of the Cape at midnight. Cool, new place to fuck. Why didn't you say that before? But you know what? Fucking on the beach is not fun. It's sandy, dude. The sand, it's windy off of the ocean. The sand gets everywhere. And if you're naked having sex, that's uncomfortable. And then there's little creatures crawling around on the beach, man. There's little crabs. There's insects that fly around. There are birds everywhere. And then sometimes, jellyfish wash up onto, granted, not as far as the dunes, but the dunes are even worse. The dunes are not compacted by the ocean. It's fluffy. And there's grass. Have you ever been in a fucking dune before? They have grass in the dunes. And animals live in the dunes. I was at my beach house last year. We had a a really nice house. Then we had a pool, and then we had like a little like hanging out area. Had tables and chairs, you could hang out and drink. Beautiful view of the ocean, and then you walk down, and we were beachfront, and there was a dune right in front of this. Like, I mean, you could still see the ocean, but there was still a dune because you need to have dunes like that. And there was freaking fox family living in the grassy dune. It's a sand dune, but it has grass and bushes and shit like that. Are there just straight sand dunes? Yeah, I suppose. Especially, I guess maybe by the Cape. I guess it's up in Massachusetts, but there's capes everywhere. There's Cape May in New Jersey. There's Cape down in North Carolina. So what Cape we're talking about? If you're talking about dunes, it's fucking loose sand and grass and crabs and jellyfish and dead animals and birds and all kinds of crap. And if you're having sex on the dunes at midnight with the sand getting everywhere, it's not comfortable, dude, really. You ever go to the beach in your sandals and you're walking across the beach to get to where you're going to hang out with? And as you're walking in the poofy sand, and it gets into between your toes, and you're walking on it because flip-flops are not the best footwear. There's no footwear that's good for the beach. And then you take them off, and you got to wear them because the sun fucking beats down on that beach, and it's like little shards of glass and shit, and it burns. It's a lot hotter than you think it is. You burn the bottom of your foot if you don't have your sandals on. And even then, if you have the sandals, the hot sand is getting away into your feet. All right, yeah, midnight's a different story. It's a lot cooler, yeah. But so then you go to the ocean, you play in the ocean, your feet get all wet. You go back to the sand, guess what? The sand compacts onto your foot. And you don't want to wash your feet off where you were sitting and then walk back to your house because you're going to be crossing the sand again, and it's just going to get all messed up again. Now, is that why you then wait till you go to the house, which has the hoses and stuff? Yeah, that's what you do. But you still have to cross the sand in your sandals and flip-flops and stuff like that. And it's going to get on your feet, and you're walking on it, and it's going to burn, and it's going to hurt like that. So just think about it. You're totally naked, all right? And I'm going to get a little graphic because, it's almost 10 o'clock. I can be a little graphic. You're wet, and, if you're really into the sex, you're licking each other. You're all over each other. Everything is just so crazy. So the sand's going to start sticking to you. Making love on the dunes of the Cape at midnight might be exciting because it's outdoors and it's midnight and you might get caught. But it's the dunes. It's sand. Sand gets everywhere. It hurts. And there's other shit in the sand as well. So that's my breakdown of the Pina Colada song. Don't get me wrong, it's a fun, peppy, poppy song. It's fun to listen to during the summer. But now that I know the lyrics, and I hear the lyrics all the time, that's all I glean on right now. And it's like, these two people are so stupid. They claim to have loved each other and been together for a long time, yet they don't communicate and they don't know this shit about each other. Yeah, it is hard to talk about sex and stuff like that to your loved one. But you still need to have some sort of communication. And the fact that John's crazy, you didn't know she liked pina coladas or getting caught in the rain. Or she's not into yoga. Obviously, she doesn't take yoga. So you should have known that too. Anyway, I love destroying this song. I mean, as I said, it's a good song. It's a fun, peppy summer song. But now that I've heard the lyrics, and I listen to it, so when it gets played, that's exactly what I glean on. It's like, oh, this is such a terrible song because these people are so stupid. And I need to break out of that, obviously. So that's the pina colada stuff. What's next? Next up will be Pokemon Go. It's 10 o'clock, so why not talk about Pokemon Go? Um, for those who don't know, and to be honest, I'm just going from what I've seen on the internet and from what my wife had. You can download it to your phone, I guess to your tablet as well, I suppose. And it's basically, Pokemon are these little monster creatures that have powers. There's a whole bunch of different ones. And a Pokemon is someone who goes around and collects them and then uses them for battles against each other. It's a pretty cool Japanese cartoon, and it's an interesting premise. And it's been very popular in gaming and stuff like that. So now they have this new game, Pokemon Go. And basically, you download it onto your phone or tablet, and it basically makes you a Pokemon collector. So you use your phone or your tablet after you've created your Pokemon collector, and it basically, from what I gather, it uses Google Maps and your surroundings and stuff like that, and is able to, you have a map and you have to find where the Pokemon are. So you have to walk around your house, neighborhood, grocery store, they've been found, schools, businesses, stuff like that, roads, by streams, stuff like that. Anywhere near your house, you have to walk around and you look at your phone and it shows you where a Pokemon is. And then if you see one, you have two views. I guess Dawn had a view that she wasn't able to show. Like, basically, you can have a view where you take a look at your phone and it's a picture of your kitchen and there's a Pokemon sitting on the bananas that I have over here, or behind me actually on my videos over here. If I had the Pokemon, there might be Pokemon sitting on that right now, which you can only see with your phone. So then you capture them and you collect them. That's what you do. But you have to go out into the neighborhood and go around your house. I mean, some people find a lot of them around their house. Some don't find many. We didn't have any in our house as of now. There might be more now. The first one Dawn got, she had to go outside in her night clothes, which is short shorts and like a tank top. And she went out at like 8 in the morning and had to go to our neighbor's yard to catch their first Pokemon. And then the next one was at the church where they were meeting up to go to their camp trip. And she caught the other one there. Actually, my daughter caught that one there with her help. So that's big. But I mean, so the shot that Dawn has is just like a map, and it shows, okay, there's a little dot there. Okay, that's the Pokemon. And you like circle it on your phone, and then you say capture something, and it comes in, and then you see which kind it is that you caught. And Dawn doesn't know how to do it. Maybe she's figured it out now, and I haven't really looked at it. But then, as I said, there's a way you can make it look like that it's in your house, or it's like on your computer right now, or it's on the bananas, or on the videos, or on the mantle, or whatever, and you catch them that way. And you can take a picture of them, say, hey, look, there's a Pokemon on my bed, But because of this, it has caused some really interesting stuff this weekend. I mean, this weekend is when its first big rollout was later this week, or like Thursday or Friday. And then this weekend, just with everybody, being off of work and stuff like that, they were able to participate more. There are Pokemon Go Twitter accounts that popped up, which shows some of the pictures that they've seen, and also some of the Photoshop ones that they've done, and other joke things like that, and talked about stuff. And then other people have been posting pictures of their Pokemons. Jessica, who used to do the Comcast Hangout, a friend of mine, she's been posting pictures. And Chris Iliopoulos, artist, writer for comics and for the I Am books, the kid ones, I Am Abraham, I guess, stuff like that. He is doing it also, and he's convincing his son to go to the mall with him because there might be Pokemons there. And then there are memes and all kinds of stuff like that. But there have also been some crazy news stories. One I know that isn't true, but there are a couple that are. The one that isn't true is people looking for Pokemon. The Pokemon Go games caused a massive accident on a highway. That's not true. Snopes.com, which is a great place. I'll be mentioning them again a little bit later today, is a great website. They are a website that investigates all these rumors, stuff like that, and they debunk them, or they say, yeah, it's true. By doing investigative stuff, they don't have an agenda. They're not Republican or Democratic or pro Black Lives Matters or All Life Matters. Again, as I said a little bit. So they do everything. So they said, no, that's not true. But then they said there are ones that are true. One that is true is that while people were looking for the Pokemons, One person who was looking for Pokemons got robbed by burglars because he was looking for Pokemons and wasn't paying attention and got robbed by them. That was a true story. Another true story is someone discovered, as far as I know, I don't think Snopes is, I think they said this is true. Someone discovered a dead body while looking for Pokemons. They were in the woods or whatever, and they were heading towards a stream where they thought there was a Pokemon available, and they came across a dead body in the stream. Now, those are some of the funny stories. And then, as I said, people then start having pictures of them all over the place. There's one in the grocery store. It was like on the grocery line, and there was one, doing this. And there's like a meme of like a police officer holding somebody back, and the meme is like, you can't cross this line, sir. It's a crime scene. And the guy's like, but there's a Pokemon in there, type of thing. It's kind of funny. And then, of course, there's kind of the racy ones. There was a picture, again, it's after 10, so I can get into this a little bit. There's a picture of, a woman's lower regions, but with her underwear on, had a Pokemon sitting on the underwear. And they took a picture of that. And they've probably done some other stuff as well, because you never know where they're going to appear. And it may necessarily be Google Maps, but it'll be using, I guess, maybe the camera on your phone or tablet or whatever is able to have a picture of where you are, and then the Pokemon being there. So some along those lines, I'm not exactly sure, but all in all, it's an interesting idea. And I've also seen a lot of people, this guy, Steve, a friend of mine, who is one of my co-hosts, Bronwyn's boyfriends. He's a really cool guy. He's been saying how much is like he loves the game, and how he's seen sort of like a community because people have been, joining forces, and it's common ground that they have in discussing stuff, and discussing which Pokemons they've had. And I think there are some that you can actually change the name of. There's a baseball guy I follow who's been playing it. He's been changing different baseball names. Player's name, the Yu Darvish one is hilarious. So that he found. So not exactly sure exactly how the game works, but it's an interesting idea, and I'll talk to Dawn about it more when she gets back tomorrow and see if she's caught any more, if she's been even playing it a little bit, because she's in the camping area with very little chance to recharge her phone and stuff like that. So she probably isn't playing it as much, but she probably will start playing it again when she gets back to home. But I mean, it's a neat idea. There was also something else that was on Tumblr about a guy who was out in the woods at like 3 a.m. Looking for Pokemons because couldn't sleep or whatever, so was just walking around in the woods and like a park or something, and there were two black guys on a bench just sitting there, and he walked by them a couple times, and then he finally noticed they were there, and it's just 3 a.m. so maybe your first thought is that, oh shit, they're gonna jump me, but no, they're like, hey man, did you find anything around here? It's like, yeah, no, not really. So look, I think there's one over there if you want to go catch that one. And so they were playing it also. And so they said, hey man, you got to join our team. So he joined their team. And then the police officers came. And so you're automatically thinking, oh man, it's going to be another thing about what's been going on this terrible week. Terrible, there's like a older guy, white guy, and two black guys sitting on a park bench, and people might be able to see them, and it might be a little weird having them around at 3 a.m. So they called the police came. They explained to me, yeah, we're just looking for Pokemons, and this is how it goes. And they got the policeman hooked on it. Now, I don't know if this is a true story. There was on Tumblr, so very well could be or not. But still, just the fact that it is kind of bringing people together in this time right now where things are pretty bad. It's kind of cool. So we'll see it. Will I join the Pokemon Go people? I probably will eventually. Just work's taking a lot of time now. It's my busy time right now. And Noelle has got basketball now. She's got a 3-hour basketball thing every Tuesday, and like a 2-hour one on Saturday. So I don't know. We'll see. And we got all kinds of stuff going on in the next couple of months. So we'll see what happens. So we'll see. Maybe I'll revisit this in a couple of weeks and say, hey, yeah, I'm doing it. This is how you do it, actually. But I guess it's fun. A lot of people are enjoying it, and it's all over Twitter. So you're seeing people making jokes about it, and doing tumblers and stuff like that. And I think because people are focusing more on that, Tinder, there hasn't been as many people on Tinder as much because they're busy, obsessed with this Pokemon Go. And then of course there's like Pokemon Go dating sites now where, you know, you find someone else is playing Pokemon Go and you can team up together, and then, hey, why don't we team up together in real life also? So, you know, the Pina Colada song had that, maybe wouldn't be an issue. So there's that. I got two more things to talk about. One, I think I'm going to wait till the end because I really don't want to talk about it too much. I was all gung-ho about it earlier this week, but now I'm just getting annoyed with it. I think I'll just do it a little bit later. I'll do it later. But right now, let me do my Secret Life of Pets review. Let's see, anybody responding to anything? Nope, because nobody's watching. That's why. Anyway, Secret Life of Pets came out this week. It was a movie I'd seen the trailers for. I think the first one came out around the time of the Minion movie, and it was really last year. It was really funny, and the kids loved it. It was like, oh, we want to see this. And I was like, not until next year. It's like, oh, I was like, yeah, I know it's tough, but you've probably seen the ads for it. You know, it's basically, you know, it's just animals, you know, when their humans leave, they start talking like normal people. But the trailers have been, you know, them doing silly, goofy stuff like the cat eating the giant turkey and the cake out of the refrigerator, and you know, other stuff. And the funniest part of it was a French poodle, big old poodle, is in his house, and his owner is very prim and proper, and it's got like a classical music playing. It's like, goodbye, or love you, or whatever her name is, and pets, and then walks out the door. As soon as he's gone, the dog changes it to a death metal, starts going, drr, drr, and it's one of the really funniest things there. So when that was the teaser, I was like, oh man, that looks really funny. And so it's from the people who did Despicable Me and the Minion movies. Like, it's got to be good. So then we started seeing more trailers, and we started seeing, okay, they're talking now. When their humans aren't around, they're talking in regular English. And it's like, okay, that could be interesting. And then the next one was like introducing the actual conflict of the story, where the main character of Max has to now compete with another dog in his house for the affections of his owner, Kate, with another dog. And I started looking at it still looks funny, but it also looks like something I've seen before. And I want to tell you right now a couple of things. This is my review of the Secret Life of Pets. There will be some spoilers. I'll try not to spoil everything, but to be honest, you pretty much know what's going to happen because you've kind of seen this movie before. But it's fun. It's, you know, if you're not looking for anything original, just looking for something fun that the kids are going to enjoy, you're going to laugh about, go see Secret Life of Pets. You're going to laugh. The kids are going to laugh. You're not even going to think about how cliched the story is. And they made some slight changes to the story to make it a little bit different than some other stuff, but I'll talk about that too. And maybe because of what happened during this terrible week and other stuff that's been going on over the past year or so, especially here in Baltimore with the Freddie Gray case, I've noticed a bit more of a underlying current about race relations in the cartoon is being, you know, not parodied, but is being introduced in the cartoon. I'll get back to that. Zootopia did a good job of covering that earlier this year. Man, it's hot. Oh, sorry, my computer's really warm. But this movie wasn't doing it so much, but there was just the central conflict. After you got past the first conflict, the central conflict sort of got a us versus them vibe, but I'll get into that in a second. So yes, it is cliched. Yes, when the humans leave, they talk like regular people. What does that sound like? Toy Story, yes. There's a lot of Toy Story allegories in this, yes. But Toy Story came out in '95, so it's been out for about 20 years now. Believe it or not, yeah, it's been out for about 20 years. That's absolutely crazy, isn't it? So, it has a couple. It has a Toy Story and a Toy Story 2-ish vibe as well. And I'll get to this in a second. So, but at the same time, it's a little bit different. Where in Toy Story, you know, your toys are inanimate objects, And once you leave, they come to life and they talk and they do stuff. And then when they hear their owner coming back, they go back to where they were and become toys again. With The Secret Life of Pets, we learn early on that when you hear them speaking English, their owners don't hear them speaking English. Like with the main character is the dog Max. And when he's talking to his owner and you hear it in English, they cut to how the owner's listening to it, and it's bark, 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 bark. So, when your animals are barking or your cats are meowing, they're actually talking to you, but you can't understand what they're saying. In this movie, you can understand what they're saying. And that's where it's different, because they're not talking English and then, when their owners come back, they revert to talking in their animal language, barks, tweets, meows, whatever. No, they're talking English, but when they're talking, they're barking or meowing. So see, that's one part of how it's like Toy Story, but is a little bit different. So first and foremost, this film takes place in New York City. New York is it's basically, to be honest, it's a love letter to the city of New York. We all know what New York is like. New York is the melting pot. It's a place where immigrants came to America and got their start and let their life start and became citizens. And New York is filled with all kinds of boroughs which have different races in it, and it's all sort of mixed together into this city that never sleeps aspect, where you get all kinds of different views of the city. You get the giant buildings, stuff like that. But it takes place in apartment complexes. I think more in Manhattan, because they end up later on they end up in Brooklyn. They're not supposed to be there. It's the other side of the island for them. So I think they're more in Manhattan, but they have glorious views of the big buildings. And I got to tell you though, one of the opening scenes of the film is of it's a pan view of the whole city, and then the camera swoops in and goes through the city, goes through Central Park, and it is a glorious, glorious shot. Just going through the city, seeing the city and all the people milling around, and then into Central Park, and it's fall because all the trees are oranges and yellows and stuff like that. So it goes into Central Park, and you see all the people in Central Park, and they're all distinct. And then it leads to the lead dog Max, who starts narrating the story about who he is and who his owner is and how they got together and how their life is. And she lives in one of the apartments, this really big apartment complex. And in the apartment complex, we meet all the other animals in that apartment complex, and then there's apartment complexes across the street and next to them, and we meet other characters from them as well. So first and foremost, you get a whole bunch of characters. It's a big cast, and the directors do a pretty good job of keeping an eye on the cast, but sometimes it jumps around periodically when you least expect it, and it might be a little off-putting at first, or you might see something that has nothing to do bearing with the main story and just feels like it's added to make the runtime, because the story, to be honest, there's really not a lot to the story. So Max loves where he lives. He loves Kate, his human. He's got lots of friends. There's a Pomeranian named Gidget who loves him, but he doesn't really even says hi to her and stuff like that, but is oblivious to the fact that she's in total love with him. Everyone else knows that she is. And you meet Chloe the cat, who's the one who eats the turkey and the cake, but she's is a friend of Max's. There's a hamster that's trapped in the pipes of the apartment complex, trying to find his way back to his house, and always goes into the wrong place. And you've got the different types of dogs. You've got Chihuahuas, and you've got hyperactive dogs. You've got a wiener dog. You've got a bird. You've got named Sweet Pea, like a canary. You've got fish. You've got turtles. You have, all kinds of different animals, and you see all the different animals, and there's a montage when everybody's saying goodbye to their animals and see what they're doing. And after they leave, how the animals revert to what they'd end up doing. Like Mel, one of the dogs, is obsessed with squirrels. So he's able to push a chair and a table filled with dog treats at a window that looks out of the tree, and sits there and waits for the squirrels to come. When the squirrels come, he starts barking at them. And basically, he's barking at them, but then when you hear, he's like yelling at them and telling them to leave, and they're cowards and stuff like that. So he's like taunting them. And no, that's what, and then when they disappear, he goes back and he sits down in the chair and just waits for them to come back. And the French poodle who likes to headbang, and the animals that just sort of all hang out together and have fun and stuff like that, and talk about things, and just a great old time. However, the story, and it's the thing, it's an hour and 30-minute runtime, so it moves very, very quick. So that's one of the pluses of the film too. It goes bam, 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 bam. So he's moving. So that's like the first 5-10 minutes of the film. You get to see all this stuff, and then bam, you get the next story beat where Kate comes back, and Kate is one of these girls. She's single. Animal lover, obviously, and likes to help animals in need. We find out that Max was a puppy that was left in a box that said "free puppy," and she took him. And then it was like a stray. And then there was another one that, well, when she's coming home from work one day, brings another dog named Duke, who's this big, giant, hairy dog. I mean, he's huge. I mean, Max is a little dog, and Duke is this big, giant dog. And Duke seems to be very lovable, but he's also huge. And she needed to rescue him also because, he's adorable, and she likes to rescue animals and doesn't want anything to happen to them, and figured that Max might needed a friend during the time where she's gone away to work. Of course, Max finds this to be a little upsetting because now he has to vie for Kate's attention now with Duke. Obviously, shadows of Woody and Buzz Lightyear having to vie for their kids' affection. And so you got that aspect of it as well. So, Duke wants to be friends, but Max is mad because, Duke, he doesn't want Duke to be there because he just wants it to be him and Kate. And so he barks at Kate, and we hear him saying how bad Duke is and that he needs to gather, and Duke just happened to overhear. So now Duke's upset. He's like, we could have been friends, but now I'm not going to take that. So he steals Max's bed and eats his food, and just like basically threatens Max. And so Chloe, the cat who lives nearby and is always like, I guess his conscience type of thing, is like, you need to show yourself to be alpha dog, So eventually Max comes with the idea to wreck the house, and that way, Kate knows that I'm a good dog, but you're a new dog, and so you wrecked all her stuff. So she's going to think you did it, and you're going to be gone unless, you do what I tell you. So, of course, Duke begrudgingly says, okay, fine. So he's now alpha dog, and he is, one day he and Duke and all his friends are being dog walked. And they go to the dog park, and, Max is really putting it on. He's like, yeah, get me a stick, Duke, and do this for me, and do this. And it's pissing Duke off. He's getting really angry. So Duke eventually finds there's a hole in the fence of the dog park. And he has an idea, and he convinces Max to come, and is able to push him through out into the big city. And so they go down an alleyway, and they get into an argument, but then they discover the alleyway. They get converged on by alley cats, a bunch of them. And they take off their collars, both Duke and Max's, so they no longer have collars. So now they just look like regular stray dogs. They escape the cats, but then get caught by animal control and get put in an animal control van. Now, when they're in the van, there is a big old bulldog with a muzzle on, stuff like that, and he's like threatening them, and it's like, rah, rah, like that. And so the animal control people are driving along, and all of a sudden you see a rabbit, a pig, and like a chameleon come out of the sewer and basically attack the animal control van and the people in it, get them injured and out of there, and free the bulldog. And so, of course, Duke and Max see this, and they convince the leader, the rabbit, who is the leader of the group, named is Snowball, to help them out. And he's like, well, we hate humans. We want to kill humans and just like that. Do you want to do that? You smell like, domestic. He's like, no, we hate it because they wanted to get out of there. So it's like, fine, okay. They convince him enough that they help him get out, and they go down the sewer, and he introduces them to the sewer animals. It's a whole gaggle of animals, alligators in the sewer, which is hilarious, snakes, hamsters, birds, cats, dogs, all kinds of animals are down in the sewer. And Snowball the rabbit is their leader. And he's like saying, we're fighting against oppression and domestication, and we want to, destroy the humans and stuff like that. And eventually it's revealed that they were lying. Max and Duke were lying about what they did to the owners, that they were domesticated. So they have to escape. And on the way out, they accidentally kill one of the sewer animals. And so that pisses off Snowball even more. So he basically declares war on them. And that's basically the premise. So now, and this is during the day. So now Max and Duke have to team up to find their way back home and get away from the sewer animals. Meanwhile, Gidget, who we know is totally in love with Max, discovers that he's not with his friends who all went dog walking, and has asked him, do you know where he is? Like, no, we don't know where he is. So there's like, okay, we need to find him. So Gidget gets the help of Tiberius, who is a falcon, who's voiced by Albert Brooks, which is like absolutely perfect. And he's a totally different character than his Marlin in the Finding Dory and Finding Nemo. He's more of a bitter, older, angry, meaner bird who ends up helping Gidget try to find Max and joins the group. And he is a falcon that has an owner. So he's a pet also, basically, but he lives on the roof of the building in a ramshackle shack in the dark and has the hood on and all that stuff. And so, Gidget convinces him to help him find Max. And so Gidget and Tiberius and all his other friends, Chloe the cat and the wiener dog and Mel and Sweetie Pie, which is the bird, or Sweet Pea, which is the bird, and then the hamster, all join forces to try to find Max. Meanwhile, Max and Duke discover that they are in Brooklyn now. And the way they got out from the sewer animals is they had to go through different pipes. Of course, we know all pipes go to the water. So they get dumped in New York Harbor. They get onto a ferry, but the ferry is going over to Brooklyn, which is across the island from where they need to go. So now they got to get back from Brooklyn back to their house in time. And they don't know how to do it. So they have all kinds of adventures and stuff like that. And meanwhile, then you have the sewer animals who are hunting them down. And then you have Gidget and her crew who are hunting them down. They get the help of Pops, who's voiced by Dana Carvey as a basset hound who's really, really old, who knows people and things, and actually falls in love with Chloe the cat, which is really funny. And they get involved as well. So you've got 3 different groups of animals that you have to cover in the film to watch them and get them to figure out what's going on. There is some padding to it. One of the scenes that is definitely padded is Max and Duke are hungry, which makes sense because they've been on the road all day. And this all takes place in one day. So it's not like over a period of a week. It's one day all this is happening. And they discover a sausage factory. So they go to the sausage factory and they start eating the sausages, and they overeat the sausages. So what that in turn does to add a little bit of length to the film is an expanded dream sequence, which, even though I know it was just added to expand the runtime, it is hilarious. And my wife Dawn is going to love it because it's a musical number done to We Go Together from Grease, and it's sausages singing, synchronized singing, and it's one of the funniest sequences of the film, even though it was only added to it to pad the runtime. But it is hilarious. It's a dream that they're having because they're overeating and they're hallucinating and stuff like that. So it is one of the funniest fun sequences in the movie. And those who like Grease and know the song, it's the entire song basically, and it's all these different sausages almost as if they're trying to go for, this is the minion portion of the movie, is these sausages, because they act a lot like the minions. They all have distinct personalities, and they do silly stuff and goofy stuff, and it's all synchronized. It is great, and it's, yes, it was put in there to pad it, but still, it's worth it for that. It is hilarious to see that. So then, eventually we discover that, the history of Duke, and this is where Toy Story 2 sort of comes in to play, is that we hear a story about Duke was that he had an owner that lived around this area that he absolutely loved when he was a puppy. It was an older black gentleman. And then one day, when he was, as he is the size now, he's a little puppy when the older guy got him, but now, and he's older, he's gray hair and stuff like that. So was probably in his 60s or 70s when he got him. And so one day Duke wanders outside at night and goes after like a butterfly or something, and gets out of the gate. And before he knows it, he's captured by animal control. And then eventually, he's in the pound for a while. And then eventually Kate finds him and takes him home. So Max, first of all, he and Duke are starting to get along a little bit now. They've become a team, and they sort of like each other. But at the same time, we can see that Max is still upset that he has to share Kate. So now he hears this story. He's like, you know what? If we're nearby the neighborhood, plus he's doing it because he feels not only can he get rid of Duke and be with Kate again, but he can actually, maybe he sees how much that Duke loved his owner. Maybe they can find him. And then maybe they can get back together and it'll be a happy ending for everybody. So eventually Duke is able to find his way back to where he lived. And of course, as a cliche, and it's a spoiler again, there's a new family in the house that has a cat, a Siamese cat. And she tells him that, no, he died. That's why he never went looking for Duke, because he apparently passed away. And so, it makes Duke angry. And then Max is trying to convince him to leave, but then Duke says, I know why you wanted to get rid of me. Let's go our separate ways. So they go their separate ways, and of course animal control comes back and captures Duke. Well, actually captures Max first, and then Duke comes back to save Max, and then they capture Max, and Duke runs away, and then Duke's like, I can't do this to him. So Duke goes after Max, and then of course the sewer mob finds him, and then Gidget and her crew find him, and then it comes to the big giant conclusion at the end. And that's the movie base. And then it ends with, happy. It's going to be happy endings all over. It really is. So, it's very cliched, but it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of funny things in it. There's a lot of sweet things in it. Not too much scary stuff. Just a lot of really neat stuff, and it was a cute film. Now, I was mentioning how it seemed like there was some bits that sort of had that racial quality. The basic premise of the sewer pets wanting to rise up against the domesticated humans, the people who've domesticated the animals, against the humans that have rejected them or whatever, because that's the point of the sewer animals. Again, they were all neglected pets, which again is similar to the neglected toys from Toy Story 3 now. So there's a lot of Toy Story allegories or connections, but skewed to make it a little bit different. And in this case, these sewer animals were all pets that were owned, even the alligators. People who own the alligators when they're little, they're so cute, but then they start getting bigger, they flush them down the toilet. They live down there. In Snowball's case, he was a magician's rabbit. Then the magician decided he didn't want to do rabbit tricks anymore, so just dumped him. So he's angry and paranoid, so he wants to rise up against the humans, stuff like that. So it sort of gets that sort of black versus white type of thing going in there. And then the Freddie Gray allegory, for those who don't know, Freddie Gray was a black man who died in police custody when they really arrested him for no reason. He was under suspicion of something, but it wasn't even that. We learned later on that he had done some time before, and that the mayor and stuff like that said to watch that neighborhood, and if someone is acting suspicious, to maybe take him in and interview him. So they grab him because he's acting suspicious, and they put him into the paddy wagon, as it were, and then when they get him out, when they get to the police department, he's not breathing, and then later on he dies. So somewhere between when they captured him and when he got to the police department, he was killed somehow. So that was the basis of it. They say that he was not buckled in into the paddy wagon, which is made of metal inside entirely. And they did the hard ride, which is when they do quick turns and they hit potholes, stuff like that, which makes them bounce around and hit walls and stuff like that, just teach them a lesson. They think that one of those potholes or whatever knocked Freddie Gray into a wall, which caused him to, something happened which caused his death. So once that was discovered, there was a big uprising. There was riots in Baltimore last year, 2 of them actually. One was really bad, one was pretty bad, but not as bad as the second one. And then the new district attorney decided to make a play. So she charged 6 police officers with the crimes, and they had to go through trials, and they're still currently going through trials. So far, they've tried 3 of the 6. No, yeah, 3 of the 6. The 4th one, we're going to get a verdict tomorrow, I think. Maybe Tuesday at the latest. But the first one was a hung jury, so he was, he had to be retried, and he's going to get retried again. The other 2 wanted to have bench cases and not have a jury, and the judge dismissed both the cases and found them innocent of all charges. So right now, it's not good, and it's not looking good. They're all going to get acquitted. I already know that, because there isn't enough proof. The prosecution is not doing enough to prove that there was intent in the murder. And to be honest, I don't think there was. I think it was just a cruel accident. And the fact they didn't seatbelt him is not really a crime, because it wasn't a law till late. It's one of these really weird things that it was law until recently, and then not all police officers might not know about the law, so they didn't. That type of thing. So it's been a weird thing. So I think all the police officers are going to get acquitted eventually, but we've gotten over that. But just the fact, it freaked me out that when they did the animal control stuff, and you had the bulldog with the muzzle on, and Max and Duke, the first time they were caught, their car was driving around and doing stuff, bouncing them around and stuff like that. And then when Snowball and his crew tried to save them, it caused more bouncing around, stuff like that. So it just made me think, oh, geez, are they trying to do an algorithm? I don't think they were, because this movie's probably been in production for a few years before the Freddie Gray thing, and just it makes sense to in the quality and the idea of the story about what's that doing. So not as overt as in Zootopia was their version of trying to do Disney's version of trying to do like let's talk about race cartoon in the guise of a fun animal Disney cartoon, and it became really popular like that. The Secret Life of Pets is not like that at all. It's, as I said, it's just a few. The idea of the sewer pets rising up against the humans that they feel neglected them and deserted them just seems a bit, black on white type of thing, which is what this terrible week was about. But before we get into what's going on about the terrible week, I highly recommend, if you want to ignore or don't want to think about this terrible week and want something fun, go see Secret Life of Pets. As I said, it made $103.2 million estimated money this weekend, so it's a huge hit. I enjoyed it immensely. As I said, it's very cliche. There's some slight original things in it, but for the most part, we've seen the story before. We know how it's going to end. We know what's going to happen, but getting there is part of the fun, and it does have a mid-credit sequence again, which you have to watch. It's actually really funny too. And happy endings all over, and just a great, it's a lot of fun. And so it's just a typical summer film. Don't want to think about it too much, not too heavy, a lot of fun. So Secret Life Pets, definitely check it out. Okay, it's 10:38. It is, tomorrow is a work day, and I'll try to go to 11, but I don't have the desire to talk too much about this as I did a couple days ago, but I've been teasing it, so I'll just touch about. So those who don't know what's going on in the world, this week has been another terrible week. I forget which days it were, but there was another police involved shooting of an unarmed black man. In this case, it was a guy in Minnesota who was selling CDs outside a convenience store and had a gun and told the police when they came, because they had said that someone had called them about a suspicious character selling stuff that could be illegal goods or whatever outside this convenience store, acting strange. The guy told them, I have a permit to open carry my gun. I have a gun on me. And that was enough, I guess. This is a suspicious guy. He's a black guy in front of a convenience store selling CDs. They grabbed him. They put him onto the ground. They put their knees on his hands and stuff like that, so he couldn't reach for anything. And what they do, they still shot and killed him. 3 shots killed him for really no reason. He told them he had a gun. He told them it was open carry, and they shot him because they felt fearful for their lives, maybe, and that it was a suspicious character. And it was videotaped from different angles, and it shows definitely that these police officers, they did this deliberately without really any reason to do it. And then it starts coming out that this wasn't even the right guy. There was a different suspicious character who was around, and they got the wrong guy. And this is from the owner of the store. He said, the guy who sells CDs, I'm fine with it. He was fine. He was a good guy. This guy was also, I believe, like a teacher or some kind of like a Big Brother guy. And he pretty much clean, you know, he's pretty much a clean guy. Shot dead for being basically a black guy. Now, the same day, that was in Baton Rouge. Yes, that was in Baton Rouge. I'm sorry, the Minnesota one happened, I think, the same day. And a woman was live streaming on Facebook when her boyfriend was pulled over by the policeman. Again, he said he had open carry. He had a permit to open carry. He had told them he had the gun, and they were asking for identification, and he was going to reach for his identification and give him the identification. The police thought he was reaching for the gun, shot and killed him too. And his girlfriend live streamed it video on Facebook. So you actually saw the guy get shot and killed by the police officers, and you heard the whole thing on Facebook. Meanwhile, the girl's, I guess, 4-year-old child was in the back seat, 3-year-old child was in the back seat and witnessed all this. Again, supposedly was pulled over for a broken tail light. So that night, I guess it was in Dallas, there was some protest, peaceful protests. I mean, there were police officers taking pictures with the protesters, you know, allowing them to do their First Amendment right to protest. And they were being peaceful about it. When at night, all of a sudden, shots rang out, and before you knew it, 6 police officers were dead, 5 more were wounded. I don't know if any more have died since then. So 11 police officers shot in total. And the suspect was a black guy who eventually was killed by a robotic bomb type of thing. Blew him up, and said before he was blown up that he was working alone, and he just wanted to kill white people because of the situation that had happened, I guess, the day before. So you have 2 deaths of unarmed black people for no other reason than them being black, basically. And the deaths of 11 police officers, or the shooting of 11 police officers. 6 of them died, 5 were injured. And so we have this whole debate again about Black Lives Matter versus All Lives Matter. And then the racists come out, the black people complaining that, you know, they're being hunted and that's why they're mad, and, you know, they don't want to take any more. And then the white racists saying, well, you know, all these police officers are killed also, you know, if you guys were more respectful to them. So it's just been a big shitstorm. And in the era of social media, it is a lot worse now, because then you get the conservatives, redneck types, gun freaks who are racist and are saying all this terrible stuff about bad people. And then you've got the militant black people who want to take arms against them. And then you got the black people who say, no, I just don't want to be hunted anymore. You can't have this. And there are those who are trying to appease both sides. The white people are trying to appease the black people. The police officers trying to appease with black people. But then you've got the police officers who don't want to appease with them. And just, you've got all these different things going on. And then supposedly the last couple of days, there was another person in a mask who was outside Dallas Police Department, was getting ready to kill some more police officers. And then there's some more black people who were getting harassed. And they found another thing, that this one sort of got swept on the ground, but there was a black person found hanging from a tree, a good old-fashioned lynching, as they called it. And that in turn jives with the rise of the Ku Klux Klan appears to be coming back, thanks to fucking asshole Trump and his racist viewpoints. And the idiots said, oh, we got to do this. And Trump being backed by all these racist people and not saying, I don't want to be a part of this. He still hasn't declared himself, trying to separate him from these racist white people. Then there's also been rumors everywhere now, rumors that before they discovered that it was just a lone gunman, that originally it was a black militant group that was going to go around and start killing white people all the time, which was, originally set up by like a conservative website. They said that's what's happening. And then there have been people who are saying, you think that these black guys who got shot were innocent. They actually weren't. Read these articles. That's where Snopes.com comes in. Snopes.com, these articles says, no, you're wrong. They were not suspicion. They had not been suspects in other crimes, and they had not have warrants for them, stuff like that. These were unwarranted shootings, and haven't heard anything from the conservative redneck types anymore. And that's going against rednecks. Not all rednecks are bad. Not all police officers want to kill black people. Not all black people want to kill police officers. But there are ones that want to. And there are ones that want to do everything, And there's white privilege, and there's all this stuff. And to be honest, I'm getting so sick of talking about it, because this all seems to be happening in 2016, is all this racist stuff. And I'm not just necessarily blaming that asshole running for president, though he is a major cause of it. But there's a lot of other stuff going on, and it's not all, their fault. And there are other people who are at fault as well. And there's also so many people that, if you show even the slightest sign that you're backing the Black Lives Matter group because you don't want to see black people get hurt, then they jump on you and say, well, all lives matter. What about the police officers? You don't like police officers? No. And then you start seeing all the memes about, you can be against police brutality. You can be against black people getting inadvertently, not getting killed just for being black. It's okay. You can be against both. You don't have to do one or the other. And it's true. To me, in my eyes, there appears to be a storm coming. And it scares the living shit out of me that I'm living in this time of, basically, it's a race war starting to come back. Now everybody's blaming, if Obama wasn't president, we wouldn't have had this issue. That's bullshit. Obama has done nothing to provoke that. It's because you don't want to see, you racist white assholes don't want to see a successful black person in the White House. You never wanted to see a black person in the White House, because the one thing, when Obama was elected first time, one thing I remember is a picture of a old white dude with signs that said, put the white back in the White House. That's fucking racist. All right. I'm a white person. I don't want to see police officers get killed. I know a bunch of police officers. I like police officers. Police officers protect us. I've had nothing but good experience with police officers. I also don't want to see black people get killed just for being black, or even if they committed a crime. If you feel your life is in danger, you don't necessarily need to kill them. And there have been other proof also that, the disparity between white and black. There are white people who have held guns to police officers' heads and, threatened to shoot and kill them, who were just injured. And again, if it was a black person, they would kill him. Hypocrisy is everywhere now. And you just got to start thinking about this before you say or do anything. Think about what would happen if the reverse happened. What do you think would happen if two white people were killed by black police officers for no apparent reason? The white people would be having a shit fit, saying all white lives matter. We need to, get rid of these police officers. They're disgrace to the force. They need to be prosecuted. They need to be, killed, whatever. They would have all that stuff. But that's not what happened. What happened was 2 unarmed black people were killed by white police officers. And what's white America doing? Oh, they probably deserved it. They were black, No, the white police officers, they were protecting people. They were afraid for their lives. Hypocrites. What if the black police officers were afraid for their lives and they killed the white people? It wouldn't matter to you. Black people killed white people. You must kill them because you're fucking racist. And I am so sick of racists. I work with racists. They're nice people. They're just uneducated. I'm not saying I'm better than everybody because I'm more educated. But you need to stop listening to every Tom, Dick, and Harry when something like this happens and they bring out all this stuff. And as Snopes.com has pointed out, a lot of it's not true. And they're not doing it because they're anti-white people or anti-police officers. No, it's their job to make sure that what is reported is truthful. Because libel can destroy, or slander or libel, whatever you want to call it, can destroy someone's life. And it's Snopes' job to make sure that that doesn't happen. They've done debunking stuff where black people were saying stuff about white people. They were debunking stuff about what people were saying about black people. They were debunking things about what people were saying about President Obama. They were also debunking stuff that President Obama was saying as well, or people who are for him. Snopes.com is not a website that has an agenda. Their agenda is to make sure the truth is told. So before you spout off about stuff you don't know, maybe research it a little bit. Now look, I'll admit it, I don't do as much research as I should, but I do a lot more reading. I read the articles that people talk about, and I follow the threads, and I read Snopes.com and see all that stuff, and see, okay, in some cases, all right, I understand, like there's someone I have an argument with at work about Obamacare. I love President Obama. I elected him twice. And I thought he's been one of the best presidents we've ever had. And I would love to have him come back for a 3rd term if we could, but he's not going to. He can't. It's against the Constitution, which is something that asshole running for president, the male asshole running for president, is not doing. He does not want to follow the Constitution, protect the Constitution. He wants to change it to fit his agenda. Now, what about the female who's running for president and her FBI crime thing? I like her. Do I think there's something hinky there? Sure, I suppose. But at the same time, this is where hypocrisy comes in again. The Republicans are losing their mind about these emails that the female presidential candidate has been charged with deleting and having on her own personal server. But it appears that the Republicans have a short memory, because back when President Bush and his asshole vice president were in power, they deleted more emails from a private server at the Republican National Convention. And Republicans didn't even bat an eye. They did the exact same thing that the female president did, or a female presidential candidate did. And yet they went after the female presidential candidate because she's a Democrat. They let the Republicans sweep it under the rug. And they probably had worse stuff because they were in the middle of a freaking war that they created. And the stuff they deleted was probably related to that. We don't know because we're not going to know. As we don't know what she deleted as well. So the fact that you're upset that she's not getting charged by the FBI, we need to think about your history. That's where the research comes in handy. That's where history comes in handy. Think back to what happened back in like 2009. When that story happened. I don't remember anything. I think they mentioned it a few times in the news, and that was about it. There was never any, let's bring them to justice. Let's have court hearings. Same with Benghazi. Benghazi, what, 4 to 6 people were killed? That's horrible. Yes, it is. But you got to research a little bit. First of all, you're blaming the female presidential candidate because she was Secretary of State at the time for not having good backup there. Well, you got to dig a little deeper because, and this is all true, you can look this up. I'm not just making this up, and I'm not just going by what some crackpot liberal said. This is actual reported. The Republicans took security off of the Benghazi embassy. Security that, if it would have been there, probably could have stopped these deaths. But again, they don't care. Hypocrisy. They just say, okay, it was on your watch. These people died. It's your fault. We're going to investigate you. And they investigate her again and again and again. They try to get rid of Obamacare again, again, and again. And that's where I was getting to also. This person I work with, I think she's fairly racist. Luckily, she doesn't vote. And she's saying Obamacare, I don't know anything that President Obama did that was great. And I listed all the stuff that I had heard, about the way the Wall Street has been, the way the employment wage has been, and how we've reduced deficits, he's reduced the deficit, stuff like that. I said, well then, sure, maybe, but what about Obamacare? I know somebody who had to pay all this $1,000 because they weren't covered. It's like, okay, yeah. I couldn't answer her. I was like, yeah, I don't know why they couldn't find coverage. I have fine coverage. And I'm sure there are other people who had to pay these exorbitant fines to get covered. But you know what? I don't know what to say. And then there are other racist people that I know at work, or I used to work with, who post stuff on their social media. It just makes me cringe. It's like, you need to do a lot more research than just what you see on Facebook and stuff like that. Nothing against them. As I said, they're sweet, awesome people. I like them a lot. That's why I don't like to talk politics at work, and I very rarely do it. And I don't particularly want to talk about it anymore because of this whole thing. Now, I had a whole sheet of paper here. I want to make sure I cover everything. But there's a lot of bad stuff going on in the world right now. Racism's running rampant. Hypocrites. Hypocrisy is the biggest problem. You have to think about what would happen if the reverse happened. What would happen? And we've already seen it. What if Republicans deleted emails? Would it be such a big deal? No. What if a number of, let's just say, a gunman opened fire at the Republican National Convention and killed 50, 100 some people instead of at a gay dance club? Do you think those Republicans would be jumping on a gun control bill right away? Even they don't know their history. That's the problem with them. They don't know their history. Their Lord God, Ronald Reagan, wanted gun control. He was fucking shot. He didn't want to get shot again. He didn't want anyone else to get shot. He was for gun control. Immigration. Let's bring the immigrants in. Let's not push them away. Let's bring them in. Let's make them Americans. The illegals who came in, let's turn them into Americans, make them part of society. He's also the guy who sold arms to Iran. And there were some Iran-Contra hearings, but again, nothing happened to him. And I just don't know what else to say. It's hypocrisy is running rampant. Because if something happened to the other side of the problem, they would react differently. As I said, what if it was 2 white guys who were shot and killed by black police officers? Or what if the police officers in Dallas that were killed were black and they were shot by a white guy? Do you think they would be doing what they're doing now? The Republicans, the racist people. Now, again, not all Republicans are racist, but the people who are racist, the Republicans who are conservatives, who are against all this stuff and saying stupid stuff. If they saw black police officers shot by a lone white gunman, would they be reacting the same way as what happened this past week with white police officers getting shot by a black man? Of course they wouldn't. And that is the root of the problem, is the hypocrisy and the inherent racism. We need to fix racism. We need to have more educated people instead of these uneducated buffoons making up stories that Snopes.com has to say, you know what, we have to debunk this because it's not true. I don't really have much more to say. I really don't want to say anymore. I'm getting tired of saying this. I'm getting tired of reading about this stuff on social media. I'm getting tired of hearing uneducated people spout off about stuff. I'm getting tired of people who think that they are right spouting off about things they don't know anything about. And that goes for both sides. I try not to be a hypocrite. I try to take a look at both sides. But sometimes it's really hard not to ignore what's going on the other side. Another fine example, and then I'm going to leave. A senator, I guess, I don't remember, after they discovered it was a black person who killed the white police officers, threatened President Obama and the Black Lives Matter people with hunting them down and killing them on a tweet. He deleted the tweet eventually, but you know what? People still got pictures of it and were about that. Why is the Secret Service investigating him? Instead, CNN had him come on and talk. Can we threaten the president now because he's black and not have any problems? I don't like that. What if it was a black senator who said that about a white president and white lives matter type of thing? Oh, I guarantee you they'd be screaming for his head, and the Secret Service would probably be investigating him right away. That asshole running for Republicans, he had someone who worked on his campaign, or as one of his campaign managers or whatever, did another racist tweet. Racism doesn't help. Hypocrisy doesn't help. I'm glad the people who are the racists that I know at work, they don't like to vote. They don't vote. That way there's a couple less votes that I have to worry about. But I'm really worried for November. And I am not looking forward to what's going to happen in November. As I said, I don't have a problem with, and I'm going to say her name because I like her, Hillary Clinton. Did she lie about her emails? Sure, probably. But the fact that the Republicans who are going gung-ho after her for deleting emails from a private server did nothing for when their Republican guy deleted more emails in the middle of wartime from a Republican National computer, whatever, server. That's where the hypocrisy is. If they would have gone after Bush and Cheney in that case, with as much fear as they did with Hillary, and the FBI found Bush and Cheney innocent, would I be upset? Sure, because they broke the law. But to be honest, I don't see it as a major issue. Was it about national security? Sure. So why not delete it? Unless you're covering up criminal activity. We don't know. We don't know what was on those emails. They went after Hillary with Benghazi. Why don't you go after Bush and Cheney for attacking the wrong country in the Iraq War? Iraq has weapons of mass destruction. Let's destroy them. Oh, wait, no, they don't. Too late. I'm tired. I'm tired of the hypocrisy. I'm tired of the racism. I'm tired of all this shit. Sometimes I kind of want something to just wipe the slate clean, and we all have to survive with each other and learn to be a team again and not let politics or racism or anything like that get in between us and other people. But from watching apocalyptic movies, stuff like that, I know it would probably make things a whole lot worse if something like that happened. So now we just got to deal with this shit every day. What's another good option? Don't look at social media or ignore what's going on about that. I could do that, but then I wouldn't be informed. I want to know what's going on in my country. I might not like it. It might upset me. And it pisses me off to no end. But I'm not going to drop it completely. I'm still going to complain about it. And I have no idea how we're going to fix this. And I am scared for what's to come. A storm is coming. And when it comes, it's going to be bad. Thursday, new episode of The Snooze. Me and Tony Solo. We'll be talking about Sharknado 4, something to lighten up things a little bit, and some other stuff as well. Sometime this week, I'll be doing my new comic haul, some new comics coming out, some interesting stuff. We'll be getting a first look at Hal Jordan in the new DC Rebirth and see how he is in the Green Lantern Corps and see what they're up to. I don't know, we got some... Anything else big coming up in San Diego Comic-Con's coming up soon. And Saturday night, 9 o'clock, barring hopefully Jerry will be better the last time she got sick, we'll be doing top 10 movies with numbers in them, excluding sequels. We're not going to do any sequels. So that should be a lot of fun. And we actually see someone else besides me talking for the last 4 weeks. So I hope you all have a good evening. Be kind to each other, love each other, help each other. Don't be hypocritical. Don't do racism, please. Even the slightest thing you can do will help. I'm going to go to bed. Have a good night. And sorry for the preaching. I promise I won't do it for a little while now. Okay. Take care.